What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for yet another panel show, and we have got a star-studded guest panel for you today. We have got the boys from Last Word on Spurs, Ricky and Lee, and obviously we got my brother Amir as well. How are we doing today? We'll start off going around the room. Amir, how you doing, my brother?
I'm doing all right, considering, we're coming off a North London Derby Day defeat. I'm actually not feeling too bad about things after reflecting, on the game and how things went. I'm sure we'll get into it. But yeah, I'm not feeling too bad. And we've got really important games coming up, Chelsea, City. We've got to be focused on that, really.
Look, the aftermath of the North London derby defeat is very hard to take, especially how it went down at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But we got to dust ourselves off. We got Chelsea at Stamford Bridge on Thursday. But Ricky, good to see you. I mean, on the aftermath is obviously a hard one to take, like I said, but you're looking like a bit of a mafioso boss today. How are you doing?
I wish I felt like one, Ben. I wish I felt like one, my man. You know what? I'll be honest with you. I was so low yesterday. I'm normally really good at controlling my emotions, after games. But I said this on the Last Word on Spurs. The two things that utterly destroy me as a fan are cup exits, losing to Arsenal, and I still am not over this yet. Just the nature, we're going to get into it, of the way Spurs let that game get away from them. And the most frustrating thing is, you know what, Ben? They weren't actually that great. They didn't have to work for it. And that's 100%. The biggest frustration, that when you look back at that game in the cold light of day, the goals we gift are just absolutely criminal. And listen, this will give you the best therapy I need ahead of a massive game against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Yeah,
Lee, always good to have you on, my friend. How are you coping after that?
Thank you, bro. It's hard work, isn't it, mate? I mean, I was there like you were. I had to really restrain myself from leaving at halftime. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be truthful. It was hard to take, and the reason why it was so hard to take was because we were abysmal at defending set pieces, as we all know. And the one that got me the most is Ben Davies showing Saka on his best foot. I mean, it's like, who in the world doesn't know to show him down the right? But he couldn't do that, and I'm sure we'll get into the penalties and all that sort of stuff. But the reality is, there was a missed opportunity when you look at some of the aspects of the game. In terms of statistics, shots, possession, the amount of clearances they had to make. I mean, we had the lion's share of the game, which is crazy, thinking we're 3 down in 38 minutes. It's happened a lot this season, isn't it? And, the Newcastle defeat, again, same thing, 4-0 down within a few, it's a bunch of minutes, wasn't it? Like 15, 20 minutes in total when you've conceded that many goals, and we did the same thing again. So, keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is insanity. But what I would say with all of that is, it's a young group, it's a new manager, it's a new team. Most pundits were writing us off to be, mid-table or even relegation if you're listening to people like Merson. If we can finish, I suppose it's a little bit of an if now, if we can finish in the top 5, we're looking below us now rather than above us. We know top 4 is now gone. I suppose the most painful thing about it is that we could have beaten them and we didn't. And it's the same old story, isn't it, Ben?
Yeah, unfortunately it is. But let's get into things. Let's obviously turn our minds back to Sunday, 3-0 down at halftime, which I thought at halftime was nowhere near a 3-0. The way the game went, 71% possession throughout the first half, and we find ourselves 3-0 down with 3 sloppy goals to concede. And it wasn't just the goals we conceded. I don't like complaining about referee decisions because, it goes for you, it goes against you over the course of the season. But so many decisions in the space of that 90 minutes went against us, and I just couldn't believe it. You're looking at the corner that Kai Havertz scored. I thought that was a push on Van de Ven. You're looking at the goal that they scored with Saka. I thought it was a penalty down the other end. They didn't even want to give the penalty that Declan Rice kicked lumps out of Ben Davies for. I mean, Michael Oliver, did he have an Arsenal shirt on underneath his refereeing jersey? I just couldn't believe what I was seeing throughout the course of that game. And it wasn't just those decisions. There were more in there as well. But Amir, do you feel that Spurs deserved more in that game?
No, we didn't deserve more. And the reason we didn't deserve more, right, it comes down to that first half. You cannot go into a derby and go 3-0 down in the first half and expect anything from any game. I'm sorry. It's not acceptable. The level of defending, right, and it's been a consistent, since that nice run of games at the start of the season, our defending has been absolutely shocking. And this whole business about set pieces, and we've seen Ange say it's not a problem. Well, mate, it really is a problem. I mean, let's be real about it. The whole Vicario thing, the whole set pieces, every corner for them, it's like basically it's half a penalty, basically. Every time a team gets a corner against us. And for me, you can't do that in a game and then expect anything from it. I think we did well to fight back and nick a couple of goals back and get ourselves back in the mix, but you can't just shoot yourself in the foot like that and expect something from a game. And unfortunately, I'm sure we'll get into it here with the lads. For me, I need to see some form of adaptability within what Ange is doing, because Arsenal, right? Let's be real. Eddie Howe done us tactically last week, and now Arteta's gone and done us again completely tactically, and he's outdone Ange. He knew exactly how we were going to play, and they got us on the set pieces. Really disappointed with that. But we did show fight, right? To put like a little caveat on all the negativity and the hurt that we're going through. We did show some fight. We did get back in there, and like you said, Ben, right? The refereeing, we do have to look at these things, because it's been a consistent, not just for Tottenham Hotspur, but you look at other teams like Forest and many others that just decisions that are completely nonsensical. And if Martin Oliver can't see someone getting kicked, near enough in the gonads there, I mean, what's he doing on the pitch? Seriously. Maybe we should be getting referees from Europe or something. Maybe that's an option. Go get people that don't have any loyalties in England or something. I don't know what the solution is, but the refereeing's been shocking all season, and not just for us.
Yeah, I mean, I would even go as far to say another decision that Mickey van der Ven goal probably should have stood as well. I mean, not only... first of all, I can't even see if it's offside or not. And second of all, if an Arsenal player hits it into another Arsenal player and then plays Mickey van der Ven through on goal, like, how is that offside? Like, it makes no sense to me. But Lee, do you agree? It makes no sense.
Commentary again, they were robbed as well. It goes on and on. Goes on and on.
I disagree with anything Amir that you're saying, buddy, to be honest. I mean, I think that did I want something out of the game? Of course we did. And actually, if that game goes on another 10 minutes, we probably get something out of it, which is bizarre. We probably end up equalising, and who knows what happens after that. But you can't give a team of Arsenal's quality. I know we don't want to say this about Arsenal, but they are quality. They're brilliant. And, you can't give Arsenal a 3-0 head start, which is basically what we did. And it's happened a few times. I think the only thing I would probably disagree, Amir, with you on, buddy, is the adaptability piece. I know Rick's going to have your back here 100%, because that's what he keeps fleeting on about adaptability. I just think there's an element of Ange who is trying to embed what he has to do this season. And actually, if you take the whole season as a whole, would we have been happy and been buoyant with finishing top 5? All of us would have probably said yes. And I said this in the last one on Spurs WhatsApp group the other day. First 10 games were now, and the last 10 games were at the first start of the season. So same points, same results. We'd all be on a high, wouldn't we? Because we'd be thinking, we've just got to draw against Arsenal, and we're on this unbeaten run, and we're amazing. So momentum has a huge part to play in that. And I don't want to say this word, but it is a process in anything you do. When you're losing weight, for an example, you start losing weight, or you're on a regime. You drop weight really quickly, and then you start to plateau, and you've got to change something different. And I think it's the same with this process. We started this process, honeymoon period, whatever you want to call it. We're all up it, happy days, as it were. I was going mad. Could we? Should we? Are we? And actually, we've now gone through that kind of plateau effect where, we're not getting them results. I think they will come. There is some huge positives out of that game. Like Ben, you mentioned 71% possession against champions-elect. Hopefully there won't be. Is great. But then there'll be loads of people screaming at me now going, who cares about possession when we lost 3-0? When we was 3-0 down after 38 minutes. So there has to be a balance there. I think the adaptability will come once he knows that we've got better players in the squad to play what he wants. And I think if you look at, and a lot of people don't want to do this, but if you look at Klopp's journey, Arteta's journey, if you look at Pep's journey, they're all the same. Poch's journey, even now. We saw it 5.5 years ago with Spurs. When he first came in, 7 odd years ago, whatever it was, 2014, 10 years ago now, blimey. When he first came in 2014. And now you're seeing it at Chelsea again. You have to give some of them time. And the only thing that I'm worried about is that we're giving up on him already, and we cannot change another manager, in my opinion, just my humble opinion. We cannot keep that revolving door going.
That's not what I'm saying. Yeah.
I know you're not saying that, but that's what I worry.
Yeah. If I can just come here, guys, because I think, look, Lee's listed a number of managers there that ultimately you judge them on their first season and what they've done. The only thing I would say is that in all of their managers' first season, and under Maurizio, who was at the club, what I definitely saw was, even in this early period under a manager, there was a real adaptability about them where they would change their game slightly based on the opponent. My concern with Spurs is that from what I'm seeing, and I think it's fair to say that those first 10 games were incredible. We were all unbelievably excited about what we saw. And I think it's easy to look back in hindsight now, but I do honestly believe those first opening 10 games, there was an element where people were still working Spurs out, what they were, how they were playing. It was a new brand of football that many didn't expect Spurs to maybe stick with and play with in those first 10. And I think what you've seen since those 10 games, you've seen 20 since then of real difficult games for Spurs to navigate, bar Newcastle at home, which they won 4-1, and bar Aston Villa away, which they won 4-0. And all those other games to some degree have been really tight affairs. We've had 2-1s, 3-1s, as we've seen. There's been late wins in there, which, don't get me wrong, is great from a characteristic perspective. But all of those games have had certain concerning elements in them where when you look after the game, there are things that you come away with and say, look, I know we're season 1, but we've really got to change some of these things. You know, Spurs have conceded 16 goals from set pieces. We had 15 days before the Arsenal game to be on that training ground, working out those problems to ensure we went into Arsenal with the best possible mindset, which we knew what their strengths would be, and to counter against. You're playing against an Arsenal side with a dedicated set-piece coach, alongside the fact of an Arsenal team that have got the most goals from set pieces. So you already know what their strengths are. And Spurs in the opening 38 minutes concede 2 goals from a set piece. Now, I'm not saying I'm giving up on Ange. If there's any manager that I would want to work at Tottenham, it's Ange Postecoglou. I like the way he speaks. I like the way he thinks. I like his vision. I like the fact of the way he carries himself as a man. But as a fan, I have to judge him purely on what I'm seeing on the pitch. And for me, there needs to be more flexibility around the way we play. Now, you can argue that he hasn't got the players for that. Look, it's a process. I'm happy to wait until the summer. But my concern is that, the same as what Amir said in his opening line, I need to see something between now and the end of the season that's going to give me real confidence going into the summer that ultimately there is some little bit of tactical deviation from what we're seeing. Because the concerning thing is that we're doing the same thing week after week after week, and we're not learning. Look at the amount of goals Spurs are giving away this season. We've conceded 52 goals this season with a defensive Porro that's improved. Van der Ven, that arguably one of the best defenders in the league. For me, Romero, who's been so underrated since Van der Ven has come to the club. Destiny Udogi's been one of the best breakthrough signings as a left back. So it's not all wrong. There's some great stuff Spurs have been doing this season. From an attacking perspective, we lost Harry Kane, the greatest goal scorer in the club's modern day history. But I do feel there needs to be some adjustments being made if this is going to work long term. And let me just re-emphasise again, I love Postecoglou as a man. I think he's a great talker. If anyone can get this right, I want him to get it right. But it's got to be an element to some degree of some tactical adjustments. There has to be.
Yeah, I think everything that everyone said is very valid, but I would say, like, every manager goes on their own journey, right? And you look at Mikel Arteta, you look at Pochettino, maybe they did it in a bit of a similar way where they were a bit adaptive to the way they kind of, set up tactically and deploy their teams in certain games. But I think when you look at other managers like a Jurgen Klopp, like a Pep Guardiola, they took batterings in their first seasons. You know, they didn't change their style for anyone, and it was later when they had a settled team, and you know they were winning leagues, they were winning games. Go on.
Just to come back in on what you said there, Ben. You're right. They stuck to their philosophy. They stuck to their principles, but within their philosophy and principles, there was adjustments being made, and they were reacting when things were going wrong. And my concern is that I'm not really seeing that with Spurs.
I'm not sure there was, though, Rick.
I don't think there was in the first season.
I don't think there was with Arteta either. I mean, all of us have a lot of Arsenal fans as well that we've been being battered on. But we're looking at Arteta today where he does make adjustments, right? 100%. But in his first season, was he making adjustments? They finished 8th. Yeah, and again, I remember we battered Jurgen Klopp's side, Dejan Lovren, putting him on his backside, 4-1 at Wembley. They were going to Norwich, losing 3-1, at Norwich, and people were saying, "What's going on?"
Man City lost to Everton 4-0.
And people were saying, "You can't do this. You can't play out from the back." People were saying to Jurgen Klopp, "This high press is too high. No one can keep this going." No, and yet they stuck with it, and then they got it right years after, or next year, or the year after. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that we. No, I do think that he's the man to get it right. I am saying that. I do think he's the man to get it right.
I want him to be. I want him to be the man to get this right. I really want it to work.
I think the biggest problem, lads, viewers and listeners, I think the biggest problem is that we are so, I don't want to use the word, but I'm going to say it. We are so desperate to be successful, and we are sick to the back teeth of being patient, waiting, trying something new. We are sick of it as fans, as Tottenham fans. We need instantly something to happen. But the reality is very different to what we need or what we want. The reality is it takes time, and we need to give them time. Pedro Porro was a wing-back before this season. Yeah, so I mean, Destiny had never played in this league before. Vicario was a £17 million player from Italy, never played in this league before. You know, and they are going to go. You know, Matassar's just turned 14, 15 years old, didn't he? Do you know what I mean? Like,
missed him Sunday. Really missed him.
You know, the reality is that we've gone through some real stop-start parts of the season, and it is a process. None of us like the word. None of us want a project. None of us want to wait any longer, but we have to. We are where we are. We can't be entitled for that fact. We won nothing for 20-odd years, 25 years, and that's the desperation. It is, we are sick to death of waiting, but we have to. And if we throw this geezer out in the next 6 months or halfway through next season, the process just starts again, team. And we're just back to exactly the same scenario over and over again. And that's why nothing changes.
So I wanna go on, Amir.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that we were just talking about this yesterday, literally in the group chat. And I just said, anyone that is literally Anjao at this stage, I think that's pure madness.
Mental at the moment.
I think it's pure and utter madness. And for me, you hit the nail on the head with the word waiting, because I'm not even judging anything right now. I want to give him a summer window and at least a start in Europe to see how we get on in the Europa League. And then we can talk around November, December time next year. And we can see if these adaptations that, Ricky, you're talking about and that I want to see as well, those tactically in-game decisions that are key, you know, getting over the line. When you're 2-1 up at Goodison, instead of conceding a goal last minute, hold on for those next 2 points and make a little, you know, tactical change in there that will help get you over the line. So I'm waiting till then to really judge Ange.
Can I say one thing, Ben, if you don't mind? The one thing I think that does, and I'm not speaking for all Spurs fans here because I can't speak for all Spurs fans, because all Spurs fans have their own opinion, and rightly so. I think the one thing that does irritate a majority of Spurs fans is that the manager has a chance to talk to, and he says it, I would like to talk to the fans through the press conference twice a week, or once a week, twice a week in terms of the post-match press conference. So in those moments when that manager talks, that is an opportunity for us to listen in terms of the debrief before the game and after the game. And I think the one infuriating thing is that, look, Ali Gold, bless him, massive friend of the last one on Spurs Joe, that Ali asked him the question around set pieces. And what I want to hear from my manager, regardless if he wants to tell the media or not, is that when you've conceded 16 goals from set pieces, and when you've considered that amount to a manager in Arteta that has got a coach dedicated to work on them, I want to hear my manager come out after the game and say, we know it's an issue and we're working on them. And not to bat it off in terms of, it's one of many things. It's a key fundamental issue that Spurs are failing to deal with now. not just in the last couple of weeks, but I'd say going back to the FA Cup game against Man City, where we was exposed from that corner. And ever since then, I think actually, no, a couple of weeks before that, the Everton game, of course, where Vicario was dominated around his 6-yard box was a problem. Every team now, to some degree, is using that as a real get out at Spurs. And the thing is, we actually reacted quite well, I think, at the Brentford game at home, where we had Maddison as the blocker that actually was controlling that element of Vicario being blocked. Why have we stopped doing that? Why have we no longer now thought that's gone away? Why have we not put someone there to try and help Vicario? Or dare I say, look, Vicario's been brilliant this season from a shot-stopping perspective, but one of the key things as a goalkeeper is, for me, they command that 6-yard box. So whether in the summer he's got to go and get back on the weights and try and build some physicality, something's got to change around that. Either we deploy someone long-term that is actually there to be a blocker for set pieces, or alternatively, Vicario's got to go in that gym and bulk up, because what we can't have is a situation going to next season where that is not addressed. Because I love Vicario. I don't want to be in a situation where we've got a goalkeeper that's a brilliant shot stopper but can't command the 6-yard box. A goalkeeper's got to do their job, and as part of that job as being a goalkeeper, that's commanding your 6-yard box. So something has to give as well on that point. But the point I'm making with Ange is that, look, as I've said, really want it to work. Love the guy, but I think the press conference, when you come out after the game and brush it off and say, you know, it's more than that, that's a key fundamental thing that we're struggling with game after game. And it's been a cold course of the season so far. So it has to be addressed, Ben. I had to get that off my chest.
No, I completely agree with you, and we've kind of diverted into one of the topics that I did have for later in the show, which was the question was, is Ange being too stubborn, right? And I feel like when you see us get, like, you look at that Newcastle game where we lost 4-0, they could have scored 5 goals from set pieces that day from corners. That's how poor we actually were. We were just lucky that we only conceded right in the last few minutes. So when Shah hit in that corner, 2 again yesterday. I think, what did you say the stat was, 16 or something that we've conceded all season?
16 goals from set pieces.
It's nowhere,
conceded from set pieces.
It's nowhere near good enough. And then Ange comes out in the press conference after the Arsenal game and like kind of bats away the question about, do we need to be focusing on set pieces more? So is he being too stubborn in that aspect? Because I think he most definitely is. And I'm a big backer of Ange. I'm a big believer of Ange. I think that he shouldn't be veering away from his philosophy right now. I think he should be doing what Pep Guardiola did, what Klopp did, ingraining this philosophy into this football club and into this squad, and all the new players that are going to come into it in the summer as well. But in terms of the set pieces, he is being very, very stubborn. I don't know what you guys have to say about that.
Can I say one more thing before you move on to the panel, if you don't mind, is that, look, for his stubbornness, the man has got a philosophy that's worked with him wherever he's gone. So the guy's not going to rip up his, excuse me, Ali, his blue book is honestly for him that what is what obviously the man goes by, and changes his rules and regulations for a club. So he'll have his key principles that he will not deviate and move from. But people are telling me that there has been involvement when he was managing Japan. He did tactically change things at Celtic in his first season. I think he conceded 10 goals from set pieces. So this isn't a new territory for him. His teams have conceded a number from set pieces. I just hope, as Amir says, that he does show his tactical adjustments where he gives me the confidence that this is going to change. Whether that's with player, personnel, whether that's in the last, 4 or 5 games of the season, I need to see something that's going to show me this is changing. And again, just to make it clear, I want Ange to be here. I want him to get it right. I want him to be the man that delivers Spurs a trophy, because I absolutely love everything that man is about as a person. He embodies what I think Tottenham are as a football club, but we need to see some element of things that are going to change.
Ricky, you mentioned before that you need to see some sort of something new tactically from now to the end of the season, these final 4 or 5 games, however many it is. If you don't see that, what would your opinion be at the end of the season? Would you start swaying more towards that we need a new manager?
I don't think I'd be out in the season 1, but what I do need, as I keep saying, I need to see something. I mean, if we're going to then change personnel then completely, are we going to bring somebody in? Because Andrew's come out and said already, he doesn't want to spend 100 million on a player. But that's what it costs to get some of the best players out there. Look at Declan Rice. No one.
But is that the club line or is that his line?
I don't know. I mean, look, I'd like to think with Ange, I mean, I always feel with a club, they're quite happy to get top 4. That's how I've always felt with the club. They're happy to get top 4. And just come out and said, I want to be challenging for the league next season. So look, if he wants to be challenging for the league next season, we all know significant money is going to need to be spent for Spurs to go from trying to get into the top 4 to then challenge for the title. But I can tell you something, Spurs need to go out, buy a genuine I think, pioneered number 6 that know their job and what they do and are bloody good at that job, that can come in and be that regular first-team performer. Because with Arsenal, I hate to say it, when they bought Declan Rice, and look, we're all Spurs fans here, we're proper Spurs, we're all through and through. I'm sure many of us were gutted when they bought Declan Rice because we all knew he was going to be a good player and we all knew he was going to fit into that side, and no one's going to talk about the price tag. That is what Spurs need more than anything. And I think if we get certain personnel, it can work under Range. But at the same time, I'll again re-emphasise the point, I do need to see some adjustment to give me the confidence going into the summer. This is going to work long term.
Bring it on to you, Lee. Do you think that Ange is being just a bit too stubborn, maybe a bit too naive as well, in terms of maybe not even employing a set piece coach? Doesn't look like they're working on defensive set pieces either. So what's your opinion on that?
Well, if they are working on defensive set pieces, you just fire him. Or her. Look, I think none of you are going to like this, but the reality of the situation is when you are learning something new, you need to focus on one element of that new thing you're learning. And then once you've mastered that, you go on to the next bit, you go on to the next bit, you go on to the next bit. So you layer it. Whether or not that's a new skill, whether it's electrician, whether it's carpentry, whether or not it's business, whether or not it's sport. And the reality is that's what his mentality is. When he was brought in, we wanted change. We were playing shite football from back to front. And actually, you can look at some of the Conte stats. I think Conte's letting miles less goals in his first 6 months and scored more, which is actually quite crazy. Or scored as many. But the point being is that around set pieces, he's not. When he talks about the bigger picture, he's looking at, I need to master this part first before I can work tactically on this. If I start giving you the Conte information, you've got to do this, 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 it doesn't get done because you're asking players to do too much too quickly, too early. And that's not me getting a get out of jail. I'm just looking at it from a maybe, and I'm not saying he is, but maybe this is revolutionary in management. Maybe he is so ahead of the game that he's actually, this approach will work. Only time will tell, team. Only time will tell. But in terms of putting out fires, which is what we're talking about here, we've got a fire that is raging. We need to put it out in terms of the set pieces. He doesn't want to concentrate on putting out little fires. He wants to concentrate on getting the foundation right first before tactically changing, adapting, or putting out fires. Whether or not that's right or wrong, I don't know, Ben. I actually don't know what the answer is to
It's got to be wrong, Lee. It's got to be wrong. Surely it's got to be wrong because you can have all the possession, all the great play you want, and it doesn't go in for whatever reason. And then one silly set piece down the other end, you find yourself 1-0 down. I mean, it just...
But he's building for so that we don't give away set pieces. He's building that we don't, for the bigger picture is that we don't give away 9-10 corners a game. And therefore we're under that pressure. Again, I'm just looking at it from both sides. Am I frustrated with us giving away? Of course I am. I don't want us to be giving away goals from set pieces. But the reason why he's kind of batting that way, it's not that he doesn't care. Actually, it is that. What he's basically saying is, let's not focus on the fires. If I get in the detail now of trying to put that out, we will never get to where we're going to be. This season is about getting the bigger picture, and then we will work on it thereafter. To go back to your Pep and Klopp examples from earlier, that's the only way I can, I suppose, excuse the pun, defend it. Because that's, if he starts working on them things, although I just can't see there's an excuse. 15 days before the North London derby. How are you not just putting something in place you don't concede? I mean, I don't think there's any excuse for that. But I don't know. Amir, what do you think?
I tell you what, like this whole debate about him being stubborn, right? I think it's a no-brainer. Of course, he's a stubborn man, right? Anyone that's listened to him speak and his philosophy.
It's his way, isn't it, Amir? It's his way.
Yeah, it's his way, which I'm absolutely fine with. By the way, I think that's fantastic. I think it's absolutely brilliant. However, he's taken a leap up from the Japanese League, Australian League, Scottish League to the Premier League. He's now in the big leagues and he's messing around with the biggest guys on the block. And this season, he's been outdone by the likes of Eddie Howe, Unai Emery,
David Moyes,
Moisey, and a list of other Marco Silva again, the Wolves guy as well.
Stop, Lee. Shut me up, Amir. Shut me up, Ben. Shut me up.
No, but it's true. It's true. So for me, the proof will be in the pudding. Can Ange next season take these guys on and get those points back that we lost? You know, we can't sit around here and think that, you know, he's going to play the way he's going to play and things will just get better. He has to work on the defensive side of things. He has to work on tactical things. For me, the proof's in the pudding. If he even changed the way we defend corners, going from this silly zonal thing, if he starts changing it up, put a man on Vicario to help him out, give him that bit of support that he has on the corners, and go man for man and see how we do there. That for me would show that he's even willing to change something a little bit in game. I'll be like, okay, interesting. It's like when he went free at the back in one of the games, he did go free at the back and bring Dragusin on. I was like, okay, interesting. So for me, he's got to be doing those things. He just has to be doing those things.
Amir, I agree with you, and I think he will be tactically adaptable. I really believe that. I don't have a problem with his tactical doubts or what he's showing tactically and what Ricky's saying he's been outdone by these certain managers. But you got to look at over the course of the season, he's outdone a lot of managers as well. You know, we went up to the Etihad with Ben Davies and Emerson Royale at the back. Yeah. Yes, we came under a lot of pressure in that first half, and we probably should have been losing a lot more than we were. But we came out of that game with a draw and came back and fought back to 3-3 at the Etihad with that defence. I thought that was incredible. Beginning of the season, we went to the Emirates. We in my opinion, by the end of that game, we played them off the park and probably should have taken away more than that. We've beaten Liverpool this season, albeit very lucky. We got the help of VAR that day, but he has gone toe to toe and matched up quite heavily against good managers this season in the Premier League to a consistent level. For me, the main thing is those set pieces, and I think it will improve. I think you're looking at the tactics he deploys from the start of the season to what it looks like now. And I think it's a massive problem in terms of our midfield players, the personnel, how they're playing at the moment. Bissouma is a shadow of the player that he was first 10 games of the season. Maddison is a shadow of the player that he was first 10 games of the season. I'd even go to say that Pape Sarr isn't playing as well as he was. You know, they're all off on Bentancur coming back from his... Exactly, 100%. And Bentancur coming back from his ACL. None of our midfield players are performing right now. And that is just the reality. So until we get our midfielders performing, we're always going to have a gaping hole in the middle of the park. And I don't think you can account to Ange for that, for particular players not performing to their level. And Bissouma is a key part of that, because how good was Bissouma and Maddison, and how central were they to our play in those first 10 games of the season? And now they could hardly play a pass. You know, Bissouma, what was he doing? He was sitting deep in the number 6 role. He was putting out every fire, running at 100 million miles an hour, winning the ball back time and time again, and driving up the field. He doesn't do that anymore. Maddison.
What I would say though, Ben, he played quite well in the second half against Arsenal.
I get that.
Romero was doing that. You look at Romero in the second half against Arsenal. Romero was doing that.
I disagree with what Ben said there. With Bissouma, I think the thing is that's been, I think, I've been one of the biggest letdowns of the season. That I think had you had Bissouma in that first 10 games, continue that form he showed, I think it would be such a different season for Tottenham. I genuinely do, because he does such a pivotal role. And I know you spoke about it here so many times, Ben, about the need for a genuine, number 6, consistent number 6. If Bissouma maintained that form he showed in the first 10 games, I think Spurs this season can look massively, massively different. And I'm not saying that we're having an absolute terrible season and we're down in 15th, but just to give some context to it, the first 10 games, we've 8-1, we've drawn 2. The last 20 games, if you look at the form guide with Tottenham, again, not to just be honest about where we're at, Spurs would be 10th in the league. So in the last 20 games, it has been mid-table form. And I think with all Spurs fans, I think we feel like it's mid-table-ish form. I think many have said to us it was an incredible start, which it was. You could argue those first 10 games are some maybe a bit of a false representation, because a manager's trying to instill a new philosophy like Lee was speaking about. He was getting to know his players, getting to know his system. Teams were trying to work Tottenham out. They couldn't those opening 10 games. Is it a case where, as Amir has said, that ultimately has the manager been found out by a lot of those managers and ultimately have read the tactic book to some degree and have studied him and ultimately seen the way Spurs work? And I think there's no doubt about it. I think the majority of Spurs fans, again, I don't want to speak for everyone, I think many would love to see this manager succeed because of the kind of person he is, the way he carries himself in public, the way he talks about the football club. But ultimately, as fans, you're going to always be judged on results. We all want a lovely brand of football. We want to see Spurs take teams off the park. And look, it's definitely been a refreshing perspective in terms of the way Spurs have played. But get right down to it. it's about results. It's all about results. You know, the Arsenal game, as Lee touched upon there as well earlier, that when you look at the game, you do think, how are Spurs 3-0 down? How are we 3-0 down? You know, and again, it goes back, and I know we keep talking about set pieces, but I think we all need to see something, many of us, that are going to give us the confidence. Maybe it will just be personnel. Maybe a personnel change will definitely help us. But ultimately, it is, I think, too early to be talking about the manager's head. I mean, look, we're in a new season. It's a new manager, new system. And look, ultimately, if we're going to, people look at Tottenham as a football club and think, those fans, are they self-entitled? They want to get rid of the manager again. I mean, we've had 4 or 5 in the last. How many times can we just keep changing the manager?
It's
How many more
insanity,
times?
Ricky. It's insanity. What we've been doing for the last 20 years is insanity.
We've had some of the best managers in here in the world football, whether you like Mourinho or not. Some can't stand him. Whether you like Conte or not, you can't stand him. These guys have won wherever they've been. Do we need to look higher up as to why we're not getting the success? Is it a mentality thing from the top? Many speak about this. I think, again, we get tired on Arsenal and Spurs with the fact that we don't talk about the board. We talk about the board every week. We talk about the fact that there's a mentality issue from the top and it always then filters downwards, and that has to change. So, look, I think end of the day, the best thing we can do now is between now and the end of the season, get behind the players, get behind the manager, and let's hope we can see something that gives us the confidence going into the summer. It's a big week, Ben. You're going to come on to Chelsea in a second. If Spurs go to Stamford Bridge and win, and we go and get something at Anfield, our mood will feel completely and utterly different because we've got confidence that this man is definitively the right man, and it is just a case of personnel adjustment. But it's a big week for him. I do fear that if this week doesn't go as well, that sway of fans in relation to how they're feeling, that mood can change. So it's a big, big week for the football club, a big 4 or 5 days in store.
And also, I think fans in general, need to remember where we're at as a football club right now. We finished 8th in the league. We've been in the wilderness ever since sacking Pochettino, Conte, Mourinho, Nuno. None of them were right fits for this football club. We've been in the complete wilderness for the last 5 or 6 years, however long it's been. I feel like we finally brought in the right man to this football club in Ange Postecoglou, playing the way we want to see our football being played, saying the right things in the press, the way he holds himself, like all you guys have spoken about throughout the whole stream. Losing Harry Kane on the eve of the season, you know, basically trying to bed in a completely new 11 from the start of the season and doing quite a good job of that. And, you know, that Chelsea game at the beginning of the season, 4-1, curtailed us and ruined that whole momentum that we did have, all those injuries, suspensions, everything like that. So I think people just need to take a bit of a pause and just remember where we're at as a football club right now. We're not on the level of a Man City. We're not on the level of Arsenal, dare I say it. We're not on the level of Liverpool, you know. We finished 8th in the league last season. We need to remember this is just a building season. If I would have offered you 5th at the back end of last season going into this season, you all would have taken it. And you all would have said that there's going to be a lot of ups and downs throughout this season. And that's what there has been. So I think people just need to calm down a bit and just remember where we're at as a football club.
Fully agree with you, Ben. And just to add to that as well, you know, maybe it's even a blessing in disguise that we get Europa League and not Champions League. You just said we're not a City, we're not a Liverpool, and we're not. So maybe, you know, competing in that Champions League next year is too much of a step up for us. Maybe that Europa League is perfect for us to challenge in and, you know, really, really go for. I mean, imagine getting to a European final next season with Ange. I mean, those are the kind of nights that I want to see back at the Lane. Do you know what I mean? That's what we live for. That's what we need. And I'm with all you guys. I do think Ange can be the right manager to bring us back to those glory days.
Yeah.
However, the decisions at the top above him at board level need to be the correct ones. Otherwise, we're not getting anywhere. And that's what we've been going wrong for the last.
To be honest, Amir, I'm coming on this one. To be honest, Amir, I agree completely with you and everything everyone said. I think when you take it upstairs, if the board have anybody in the board that are feeling how some of us fans are feeling, there's going to be unrest. And this is the point I'm trying to make. You can't keep burning managers. No. As fans, emotional fans, we can look at each game and say, you're giving that header away, but the board have to be on the bigger picture with Ange. This is where I'm coming from, team. Like, they have to be. Because if they're on our page or some of the fan base that we have that are like Ange out, we are on the road to destruction, and this is what I'm saying to you. So we can't have it both ways. As a fan base, we can't sit here and moan about set pieces and moan about Ange tactically not adapting and moan about this and moan about that, and then expect the board to be completely fine with it when they're the ones that are putting the money out. You know, I've had people asking the questions: do we trust this manager for 100 million, 150 million? Like, what? Hello, like he's only had 2 transfer windows. And back to the Basuma point, in January, we all was crying out for another centre-back. Every single podcast, every single YouTube channel, every single fan that I spoke to, we needed another centre-back in January. And we got another centre-back. We also needed another forward. Regardless if you wanted him or not, we got another forward. No one ever said that we need another number 6, right? Before the January window, because of Basuma's drop off, because of the way that Bentancur hasn't come back from injury, there's nothing that Ange could have done about that scenario after January. And now we need another 6. 100% agree with all of you. But what can he do? What can he do for that point? He can't go out and buy another number 6 before the summer. So you've got to put that into context. And I just think with the board, will the board back him? Who knows? Who knows with this bloody board? Will we spend loads of money? Will we win? Have they got the mentality? None of us know. Probably no. History tells us no. Right? That's the reality. History tells us you don't get top 4 next season. You're fired or you're sacked. Next one in. Let's go again. That's what history tells us. But if there's people on the board today that are looking at Ange going, I'm not sure we've made the right decision here. Not sure that he's tactically, I'm not sure he can do this. He's been in Japan, he's been in Australia, he's been in Celtic, but I'm not sure he can do this in the Premier League. If there's people on the board like that, expect him to be sacked within the next year, 18 months. They have to be together. And this is the point. We all have to be together. If we're backing him, there's no but. There's no but there.
Got to be all in.
We're all in, mate. We're backing him. There's no but. Oh, we like Ange, but he needs to change. No, he don't. If you like him, this is what he does.
For me, Lee, it's not even about the money spent as well. I don't care how much money is spent as long as the quality of the players being brought in are of the right ilk.
Totally agree. And on that point, Amir, this is what I mean with Tottenham. For every signing of Mickey van der Ven, we didn't go and sign Timo Werner. That absolutely divides the fan base. You know, I know Mickey van der Ven, again, you could have argued that. I think we're all surprised by his rapid progression and how quickly he's grown into becoming a first starter with Tottenham. But ultimately, the thing with Tottenham is, let's be honest about it, you look at the signs that they made, you know, this summer just gone. Manos Solomon on a free. We haven't seen the bloke since September. Timo Werner, no disrespect to him. You know, we've got a forward there that can't finish. I mean, you're looking at Tottenham going into the game at the weekend against Arsenal. We line up with a forward line, and I love Kulusevski, and I know he's, again, inconsistent player that gets judged with a fan base, but you had a forward line with Werner, Kulusevski and Sonny playing as a number 9 with his back to goal. I just don't think works. And you've got 2 guys that their form in front of goal is not good enough. And that's the concern going into a derby, and you're deploying Højbjerg in there as your number 6, because let's be honest about it, Højbjerg wasn't going to play many games this season because Ange has already decided in his mind he's not right for me long term, and Højbjerg also want to be here. But that's what we've got to now, because like Lee said, Basuma's form has dropped off a cliff from the first 10 games. So I totally agree with what Lee was saying there. It's not all Ange's fault. And I think a massive part of it is down to really what the board are going to give him this summer. Are they going to give him ready-made players that are going to slot in and improve the first 11? Or are we going to get squad-based players like Timo Werner and Manos Solomon that arguably, let's be honest about it, wouldn't get into any other top 3, top 4 side that have a genuine aspiration of the title? And the thing with Ange now, Benny, is that he has come out and said, I want to compete for the title next season, which I think is really interesting then when you're going to see the kind of players Spurs are going to be looking in the summer. Are there going to be players that we're going to look at as fans and think, do you know what, like Declan Rice was for Arsenal, that guy's going to take us to a league title? Or are they going to be squad-based players that are just going to play their part but not be first-team players?
I just say though on that, just quickly, just on that, you know, when you're building a team, you don't need, you know, 12, 15, 16, £100 million players. And again, looking at Arsenal, because you keep going back to Declan Rice, game changer, whatever, fantastic stuff. But they did sign Martinelli, right? Who's been good about. They did sign Trossard for not much money, who's been brilliant for them. You know, they did sign other players in and around areas that aren't these multi-million pound players, just like we've done as well. I think, you know, I'm with Amir. I don't care if you spend 5 million or 500 million. We never spend that. You'll never sing that either on a player. But the reality is, we need players that want to come in. It would be very interesting to see how we look at our back five, essentially. So Vicario, Van der Ven, Romero, Porro, Destiny. I don't think anyone's changing any of them. Yet we've got one of the worst defensive records in the Premier League.
It's the midfield, Lee. It's the midfield.
Right? 52 conceded.
So where we need to really focus on is that key number 6 that we've all talked about, and the left wing, Andor, and number 9. Because I say Andor, there's no point getting a world-class left winger if you're going to put Sonny still out there, because you're now getting a number 9. And Sonny can't play a number 9 back to goal type scenario in most of these teams. If you look at all the teams that we've struggled against, and Arsenal fans won't care that I'm saying this because, they've beaten us, but, you could say that they were defensively backs against the wall at certain times. You could say that the possession suggests, that they were parking the bus to a certain degree.
Lee, they came to Tottenham and parked the bus. That's exactly what they did.
The game was done at 3-0, wasn't it? The game was done at 3-0. It was done.
Yeah,
it was done. And
so you look at Newcastle. They parked the bus and played on the break. Right, you look at all of the teams that we struggled against to break down. When you watch City sometimes and they struggle to break these teams down, they don't ever get any criticism because they're sitting and this and that. But they play Crystal Palace and they sit behind the ball, and we struggled against Crystal Palace. Yeah, we beat them 2-1 when Ayew scored that volley. But we struggled to get them goals, and that was when we was in a good point of the season. Most of the teams, if you look, Wolves sat behind the ball, Newcastle sat behind the ball, even Arsenal sat behind the ball. They're all sitting behind the damn ball. So, and we're playing a number 9 up front who isn't his natural game, like somebody to hold up defensive set pieces. Have we missed Harry Kane defensively? You could argue with Richarlison, but Richarlison's been in and out of the team. So maybe defensively it's set pieces would be better if they was in the side. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen Sonny head the ball. Only maybe once when he scored against Burnley when it was a double header. It was a header from Kane to Son who scored, if you remember that goal. I just don't think he's ever... So, again, it's that personnel piece, isn't it? It's hard to... It's difficult to defend it, but it's difficult to criticise it when he hasn't had an opportunity to rectify it.
But, Ange has been speaking quite clearly about he wants to be in and amongst it next season, fighting at the top, fighting for a title next season, as I think Ricky mentioned before. Is that deluded from Ange, or do you think that with the right signings, we can actually get there? Because I actually don't think we're that far away from being... I don't think we're that far away. You look at Arsenal before they started challenging for the title. They finished 5th. We beat them to 4th that year, the year before they started challenging for the league title.
No, I actually think that's a good point. From Amir said earlier about, is it a blessing? I think the blessing in disguise for Arsenal is we beat them to the top 4 that season because we wasn't ready for Champions League and kind of nor were they. And then look what's happened to them. And maybe that's our turn this year. Maybe not. Maybe I'm clutching at straws here, team.
Time will tell.
Exactly.
But if an Arsenal fan would have sat there at the end of that season when they finished 5th and we finished 4th, and they would have said, "Oh, you know what? We're going to challenge for the title next season," we would have all called them deluded, right? And if we sit here now and say we're going to challenge next season, everyone's going to call us deluded. But I think if we make the key additions in the front line, if we buy a monster number 6 for next season, maybe with some more defensive cover, which I don't think is unrealistic, I really think that we can make... I'm not saying we're going to go and win anything and go win the title, but I definitely think we can win a cup. And I definitely think that we can be up there much closer to the top 3 than we are now. I think there's a bit of an echo or something, guys. I'm not sure who that's coming out of.
I'm muted, mate. I'm going to mute now, look.
I think it's Ricky. Did you hear what I said, though?
Yeah, mate, you were bang on. Yeah, we heard you, mate. Loud and clear, bud.
But do you agree with that? Do you agree? Do you think that it's a possibility that Spurs can be, fulfilling Ange's ambitions and fighting up there next season?
I'm the worst person to ask because I'm going to say yeah. I'm going to say of course, that's my nature. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But I think so. I think with a few additions, it's where we're building to. Now, if you can get that team that was started this season so well, and this is coming back to putting out fires or tactically keep going. This is where we're going to be. This is where we're going to be ingrained in them. There's calls for Maddison to be dropped at the moment, and maybe the Celso to be given a chance, and that sort of thing for the next game. And actually, maybe they do need that. Maybe they do need to kind of see that freshen up. But I think that I can't go across this. Certainly, this first 11, maybe the first 13. I don't know what you think, Emil. I can't go across it and ultimately criticise any of the players really in it. You look at. Brennan Johnson's got loads of criticism, but he's done pretty well, to be fair, in his first season. Young guy, Pat Matasar, Destiny, Vicario, Van der Ven, Romero, Porro. Porro's got 8 assists or whatever it is as a right back. This is not a bad season, and that's the midfield, but Maddison was good. You look at Son, scored 16 goals, 9 assists, or whatever he's got. It's not a bad return. We lost our best ever striker. We didn't lose him, by the way. I want to say that the board sanctioned a sale. The board sanctioned a sale for our best ever striker. Imagine having a guy up top that scored 30 goals a season in this Ange Postecoglou team, as an example. We're crying out for a world-class number 9. We had one, but the board thought, you know what, we'll take the money.
Yeah. It's not just take the money as well. Kane didn't want to sign that contract. He lost hope that Spurs are going in the right direction because of the board. The board lacked ambition, and Harry Kane isn't deserving of a club that lacks ambition, and he wanted to leave the club. If he didn't leave this summer, he would have left this current summer coming up on a free transfer. So I think the board have pretty much blood on their hands for Harry Kane leaving this football club. This guy is a Tottenham boy, come through the academy, our highest ever goal scorer, and he's left the club because we lack ambition. Like, how is that ever going to be good enough?
I've never replaced him. Let's be honest.
I never replaced him.
And you've got a manager now who says he wants to win leagues.
Yeah.
This is what I mean, though. I think it's a good thing now, into some degree. Whatever you think about Ange, I've always been of the mindset, I'll be honest with you boys, that when you go and burn Mourinho and Conte, 2 of the biggest managers in the world football, and they didn't get the funds, I was thinking to myself, well, why would they give the funds to Ange Postecoglou? The only thing I would say is on that point now is that you've got a manager in Ange that said, I want to win the title here. So the reality is now what he has done, whether doing it purposely or not purposely, he's actually put the pressure now back on the board because he's told them his ambition. He's told us his ambition. So ultimately, if his ambition next season to compete for the league, you're going to know very, very quickly, based on the targets and the players that Spurs bring in, if those players, in our eyes, are good enough to genuinely challenge for a league. Because what I would say is that, look, I know Maddison's off form right now, but when Maddison was signed in the summer, I know so many Spurs fans that were buzzing about Maddison. This guy is a first team that's going to walk in and change the place. And to be fair, look, let's be honest about it. On losing Harry Kane, James Maddison came in, filled that void, took that shirt, in 10, 15 games was brilliant up until his injury. We need to get that James Maddison back, and I mean Leicester fans say that it's a slow process after an injury. We can't be one off James Maddison long term because of the fact that he's had an injury. James Maddison has shown he's brilliant at times, and he'll definitely come back. He will, but the reality is that Spurs, in my opinion, need to show us as fans they are serious this summer.
Just on that winning the league, though. Sorry, Ben. Just quickly, just on that, challenging for the league or trying to win the league. I just want to give you some statistics, if I can, from Arsenal actually. Which is
bring up the stats, Lee. Come on.
Bring them out, right? Because the reality is, one of my best mates is an Arsenal fan, which has been painful for the last few days. But he actually sent me these stats before the North London derby. And Arsenal's away results in 2024, right? In the calendar year of 2024, they've scored 24 goals and conceded 1. That was obviously before the North London derby. And if you put that into context, they're probably not going to win the league. So just think about that at the moment, right? Arsenal are brilliant for them. They are very, very good. They've gone away. Their away results have been virtually flawless before the North London derby, only conceded 1 goal in 2024. And they're probably going to lose the title to Man City. It is seriously difficult to win the Premier League. See where I'm coming from, lads? So I just think there needs to. I'm not trying to be less ambitious. Believe you me, if you know me personally, you know how ambitious I am. but you've got to put some context around what we're trying to catch here. And I'm not trying to make excuses for anything, but we're trying to catch some serious juggernauts in this league. And that's hard. And that's why it's frustrating.
But there's no reason, with the way Arsenal built up with Arteta, 8th, 5th, 2 league title challenges in a row, there is no reason why we can't do that ourselves. There really isn't.
We did it under Poch. People forgetting that, weren't they?
Yeah, Lee, we did do it under Poch, but the competition was a bit different then than what it is now. You know, Liverpool and Klopp and Pep Guardiola were just starting out. They didn't have their fully formed teams. We were going against the Chelsea Conte team. And yeah, no, I get that.
Do you know what I mean?
Ten Hag ain't in the conversation, Lee.
Yeah, no. But do you see where I'm coming from? Do you know what I mean? Newcastle in still state of flux. You know, there is opportunity. I'm not saying there isn't. Believe you me, I think we can challenge. I agree with you. But it is extremely difficult. Now, for us to throw our toys out of our pram, you know, not all of us, but, you know, when we get frustrated, of course we're frustrated. But if we don't win the league, we haven't won the league since 1961, for crying out loud. I mean, come on, like, something has to change. But we are chasing absolute juggernauts, and it's tough. And that's what's frustrating about it. Again, it comes back to my point at the beginning. We haven't won anything for so long, 16 years, 24 years under this ownership. And the ship hasn't been steered to win stuff. It's been steered to have longevity of cash and to get the top 4. And that's what we're frustrated with.
What I would say, though, to what you guys were saying... Sorry, Lee. What I would say to what you guys were saying before in terms of the caliber of players that we need to bring in this summer and maybe the caliber of player that we brought in the past, I would say that since Paratici has come in, I have been massively happy with the caliber of player coming into this club. Look at the starting lineup we have now. Vicario, we're all happy with him. Romero, Van de Ven, we're all happy with them. Porro, Udogie, we're happy. Madison, we're happy. You know, a lot of these players that have come in have been of the required ability we need to kick on this football club. So what I would say, if we carry on of that ilk and we bring in, if we have a similar transfer window to last summer that we have this summer, and we bring in specifically targeted players in the positions that we need of that caliber, I do think we'll be all right and be onto a good thing. And
just on that was quite interesting, Ben. Just on that, was quite interesting. You stopped short of naming the forward line, and I thought that was quite interesting because one of the things that Ange Postecoglou has said every single press conference that you listen to is we're still not ready in our forward line. We've still got miles to improve in our forward line. And actually. And although we've conceded all these goals in the back, I don't think any of us would change the defence or the goalkeeper. You know, a bit of midfield, as you said. But the forward line is the issue. If you're creating these chances, I haven't seen enough this year of this kind of hashtag Ange ball where we're going to absolutely rinse teams for 96 minutes and we never stop. I haven't actually seen that in terms of attempts on goal. On average, under Conte in his first 6-7 months, we were doing 7 shots on target under Conte's management. You know, the average is about 4 in the last 30 games for Spurs. That's not enough. When you go and see Klopp's teams, Liverpool teams, their average on target's 9-10 a game. That's how you're winning football matches. Does that make sense? So I just 100%. Think that and it comes back to them certain areas. He's saying that I need to get that bit right before I even worry about the defence. Whether or not we think that's right or wrong, or if that only time will tell, but that's what he wants to get right. And if he gets that right, it won't matter if you concede 2. I think the key part of what he's saying is it's not about conceding 2, it's about not conceding because we're defending from the front. And even Arteta come out and said in his press conference after winning on the weekend, we couldn't handle their press. They couldn't handle Tottenham's press. So there is certain things that are happening well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think it's safe to say, like, if we get a top midfielder in and a couple of attackers in for next season, I think you'll see Ange will flourish 100% next season, even with the tactics being.
And Ben, can I ask can we have a set piece coach? Is it
100%? 100%.
Work with them, but I mean, look, hopefully a part of that evolvement and that adaptation is also recognising where you've got deficiencies and weaknesses. And I hate to say it and bring those up down the road and again. And Mac was saying it earlier that you've got a manager there that has actually gone and poached someone off City, and before that at Brentford, that has contributed in 16 goals from set pieces for them. That's massive for a season. Why? Again, if we're looking at anything in life about evolving, going to the next level, you've got to look at where you can get wins from. Arsenal have gone and got themselves a set piece coach that has improved them. They've got 16 plus. They've got a huge amount of goals this season.
23.
Glorified Burnley, mate. Glorified Burnley.
Listen, I mean, again, you get your advantage.
Bolton under Sam Allardyce. We'll be back.
You know what I mean? Mikel Arteta is just Sam Allardyce if you give him money.
God, take how far they've gone this season in terms of pushing the team all the way. And I know it's not about them. But listen, you know, again, like you said there, Ben, I agree with you. We've got a really good nucleus of a squad. That's why everyone talks about a project and a transition. You know, we're not too far off. I know people will laugh at me for saying this, rival fans, and will maybe clip me on it. We're not too far off. We're 3 or 4 decent players away from genuinely, in my opinion, challenging if the manager can adapt slightly and tweak his system. We're not that far off. We're not. That's what the frustration is. We've been that close on so many occasions under Maurizio's tenure. We've just need that bit more. Will the board go and do that? Will they show that ambition that the fans want? We're desperate, as Lee says. We're desperate for trophies. We're desperate for something to give us hope. We need it.
It's time to kick on, boys. It's time to kick on this summer. But let's finish off talking about top 4, talking about this game on Thursday night as well. Amir, is top 4 gone for you?
Nah, like listen, when it's still, you know, a possibility, I always will still have a bit of hope. You know, that's what football's about. You know, you have that delusional hope that we could still somehow get in there, and you know, Villa will drop points here and there and everywhere, and we'll somehow be perfect. But yeah, I think being, you know, having my realistic hat on, I think it will be Europa League for us. But yeah, you know, having my, you know, absolute delusional hat on, yeah, we're gonna get top 4. You know, it's one of those ones. But to be honest, like I said before, Europa League could be a blessing in disguise. And to be honest with you, maybe all this talk of winning a Premier League, because to be honest with you guys, I don't think we're anywhere near ready to be challenging like if you take this team as we've got now with Ange, I don't think we can compete for a Premier League next season. But is it all a smokescreen to go for one of these cups that we'll be involved in? You know, you'll have 3 cup competitions to go for next season. Maybe that's where we should be focusing. Get the monkey off our back, get a trophy under our belt, and then...
The treble's on, Amir. The treble, the cup treble. Let's go, man.
I love it, Lee. I love it. Come on.
But you know, like a team is like a big machine with the cogs, right? And you need the right cogs in the right place so everything is a well-oiled machine. I feel like we've got a lot of those cogs in place, but a lot of them are missing. And you would have said the same about Arsenal when they finished 5th instead of 4th, and nobody could have predicted that they would have challenged for the title the season after. So I would say, like,
what do you say about Arsenal? If they don't win the league this season, right? Hopefully they don't. They got to quarter-final Champions League. They're out of both domestic cups, and they don't win the league. What do you say that's missing in their cog? So today, there's nothing missing. They're amazing. They're a great team. They're this and I'm just giving you stats. But when they don't win the league, what's missing? That's my point. Same as City. If they don't win the league this year, they don't win any cups. They don't get beaten by Man United in the FA Cup final. What's missing?
I'll tell you exactly what's missing.
A top striker, man. It's a top striker. A top striker. They don't have one.
Exactly. If they had one, they'd win the league.
Yeah, 100%. If they had a world-class level striker, an Ollie Watkins or someone like that in their team.
Harry Kane.
Don't even mention that name and that club in the same sentence, to be honest. But anyway, Lee, you did mention at the beginning of the show saying you think top 4's gone. My brother, every time he comes in, he gets out his graphs on the table. He's working out every single sort of scenario he can get, how we can make top 4. Every single week, he's like, oh, Villa going to drop off here, Villa going to drop off there. Is it a possibility for you?
Look, it's only a possibility on the basis that, look, I'm the same as Sim. I'm a nightmare with all my graphs and my stats and all that sort of stuff. 72 points guarantees you top 4 out of the last 12 seasons on average. I think there's been one season, the last 15, that has been 75 points to get top 4. And then the average works out at 72. There's only been a couple of seasons where 70 points doesn't get you top 4. So the reality is, if you get 72 points, you are virtually there or thereabouts. It's like the unwritten rule for getting relegated. 40 points, you're safe, right? It's that unwritten rule. There's a couple of anomalies, but 72 is top 4. Now, in order for us to get 72 points, we need to win our last 4 games. Simple as that. And that gives us 72 points. That will get us top 4 still, in my opinion, because Villa will drop points, right? They will. But I don't think we're getting 12 points out of our next games. And I'm sorry to say, and I am Mr. Optimistic, right? And I do everyone's head in for being too optimistic. I think I'm called a toxic positivity. I don't know, some crap that social media made up. But anyway, the reality is we're going to Stamford Bridge on Thursday, and we ain't winning that football match. It's just not happening. We're not going to do it. They absolutely hate us. They're going to be right up for it. They've just turned a corner versus the Villa performance, and we're on our knees. And we haven't got it in us, I don't think, as a fan base, as a team, as a club at the moment, to get off our knees from the North London derby and go and beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge for only the second time in about 4,000 years. So for me, as soon as that game's done, our top four is completely over. So yeah, I mean, I think even Sheffield United being relegated and Burnley, I actually made a prediction in the last one Spurs WhatsApp group ages ago, saying there is no way on this planet we are going to drop off at the end of this last season. And I've got those things, and we're basically doing exactly what I said we would do. I mean, what do I know, team? I ain't got a clue, have I? So
we're making top 4 then. We're making top 4 and winning at Stamford Bridge.
Come on.
But yeah, I mean, I am normally Mr. Optimistic. I can't see us getting more than. I think we could potentially get 6. Well, the thing is, I actually think weirdly that we could potentially beat City at our pace, but none of us want to do that because it hands a title to Arsenal. So that has to be a loss. The Chelsea game's a loss. We might get 6 points. 66 won't get us top 4 because Villa are already on 67. So there you go. There's the answer.
Is it possible for us to get top 4 without beating Man City? Is that even a possibility?
Yeah, Villa have to lose, don't they? They have to lose the next 3 games, and we have to win against Chelsea and then beat Sheffield United and Burnley. And then we have 69. They have 67. I mean, they could draw one of their last games. They're not going to do that, are they? Who have they got? They've got Brighton. Villa have got
Brighton, Liverpool and Palace.
Fine. So Brighton are shocking. Like no offence, but they're absolutely shocking. Liverpool will probably turn them over. There's your little bit of hope. If you can get a draw with Brighton.
And Palace are playing well at the moment.
Maybe. Bloody hell, you're turning into your brother, Ben. Top 4's back on.
But do you even care that much, though, guys? Like, how much does top 4 even mean to you? Because I've been saying it for months now that I don't even care if we make the top 4 or not. I mean, we've been here in the top 4 so many times. It's never kicked us on.
I think, listen, for me, I know everyone says that, the Champions League, you want to feel like you've got a chance in it. I just feel like at the moment with Tottenham, we've conceded 52 goals so far this season, 16 of set pieces. You want to go in the Champions League like this? We get humiliated. The Europa League, I think, is a great ground. I think Amir said it earlier. It's a great grounding for a young group, and they're a modest group as well. It's not like we've got Conte and Mourinho here that maybe see it a bit as below them, although Mourinho, to be fair to him, look, he takes every competition seriously. You just felt with Conte, the Conference League was almost a bit of an embarrassment to play there. Hence, we decided we want to get disqualified from it. The reality is with Tottenham, the reality is that I think next season would be great. It'd be almost a way in which you could bed in some of the great young talent we're seeing, the likes of Jamie Donnelly that's doing really, really well. Mikey Moore, I even say these guys have an opportunity in a competition where you can sprinkle that with some of the players that we've obviously seen that have done really well this season. And I think that's a great grounding. And you know me, Ben, I absolutely love a trophy. God, I do think for a trophy. That's a great opportunity to have a chance to win another trophy. And you go into next season with genuine 4 possibilities of doing something. I mean, the league, I think, will be beyond this next season. But the FA Cup and League Cup, as I always say, I want to always see an emphasis on that. And I think that's been the biggest frustration this season. Yeah. Because we haven't progressed in those cup competitions, we've had less games, which means we've had less time on the field to really work with the team and everybody as a whole. And I think that's the thing. We've had these 2-week gaps where I think many clubs have said they've not really enjoyed having these gaps. And Ange just said it, he would prefer to have the games. So next season, more games. I mean, it's been a weird season. We've had almost like a 40-game season. But I think part of us are all knackered already and want it to come to an end. It's like nuts, isn't it? I mean,
that's why I worry about that with the players. I said this to you before, Rick. I worry about that mentality of the players. Like half of these players thinking like, if half the players are thinking like what we're thinking, and I know they're professionals, but if they're thinking like some of the fans or some of what we're thinking like, they're not going to win football matches. This is one of the reasons why I'm always positive normally, other than the Chelsea thing. But, because you have to go into games believing you can win. Because if you don't, you're going to lose already. Like, it's a mentality thing. And people think, Ben, your rousing speech on your previous show before the North London derby, we have to brutalise them as the crowd. The crowd needs to... People don't get it. But they don't understand that we have an absolute integral part of making sure that we're together. The togetherness is the fans, is the board, is the club, is the coaches, is the players. It's all together. And we don't want to go all together. There's people offering me out on my DMs because I said that we'd be want to go. It's unbelievable.
Have they seen you in person? Have they seen those guns? Are they mental?
Well, I mean, that's up to them, innit? But no, do you know what I mean? It's like I just feel that we're so desperate. It comes back to the point I made earlier. We're so desperate as a fan base to be successful that we'll almost do whatever it is. And as soon as it doesn't go our way, we want to, have a go at each other. And, not this panel, but, the wider network, you see it. It's like it all kicked off in the South Stand, didn't it, Ben? Like, at the game. It was ridiculous. Like, police outside, all kicking off. It's like...
That's because Gooners were in the home end.
Yeah, Gooners, to be fair.
Gooners in the home end, but then the Spurs fans were kicking off against the police and whatever. And it's like, what's going on here, people? Come on.
Yeah. But Lee, I mean, what is your opinion on the top four? Are you desperate for the top four? I mean, is it the be-all and end-all for you this season? I mean, how much do you care about it?
I do like dining at the top table, Ben. I'm partial to a 5-star, 6-star experience. If I'm honest, not being prawn sandwich because I'm in the South Stand, but
that's what I'm saying. Why are you in the South Stand and not in the H Club then?
No, exactly. No, I mean, in terms of metaphor, so I think our club dining at the top table is attractive. I think that the new Champions League format, it's the first one in the new format. I think that would be quite important or nice for us to be in. But I do agree with Amir and Ricky in the sense of, and yourself, Ben, to be fair, like Rick's been saying it for a while, actually as a development of our club, is in terms of the playing side, it's probably better to be in the Europa. And, you can get some of these boys that have been ripping up Premier League 2, by the way, absolutely tearing it up. Get some of them some games, get in the interaction of them. I love seeing one of our own, 2 of our own, 3 of our own playing in the first team and doing well if we can get them in there. And we just haven't had the games to be able to do that. I also love the fact that Ange wants to go for the big prizes, which is exactly what Maurizio Pochettino did when he first came in. And it used to annoy the fan base, some of it. I want to go for the big prizes. But it was the mentality shift of, we're okay if we can just win a Carabao. What he actually wants to do is go and compete with a big top. And that's where we need to be. So if you were to offer me Champions League right now versus Europa, I'd probably take you Champions League. Not because of the money, just because I'm dining at the top table and you're playing against the best. I think from a development perspective, there's no harm. I mean, look, we are the original Thursday, Sunday team, aren't we? We must have played Thursday, Sunday more than any... I'm going to get out my get Sim to look this up. I reckon we played more Thursday, Sunday football than anyone in the league.
It'll work better for my marriage if that helps anyone. If anyone cares about my marriage.
The good old days.
Amir, Tottenham to make the top 4. I mean, you can only push one of these buttons. Top to make top 4, Arsenal not to win the league, or vice versa. Which one are you taking?
Wait. Go through that again, Ben. This seems like an impossible question.
That's a clip there, isn't it? That's a clip.
Tottenham to make the top 4 and Arsenal to win the league. Arsenal not to win the league, Tottenham to go into the Europa League.
Oh, number 2 all day long. Yeah.
Would anyone take number 1?
You've got to be off your head to take number 1.
Ben, what are we going to do in 2 weeks' time if that game at home to Man City is a definer? I know this is probably not the show for it. You're going to do a panel show in a couple of weeks' time. I'm telling you, you have 60,000 Spurs fans in City shirts. And if they're not, I'm going to question why they aren't in Spurs shirts. I don't ever want my team to lose, but we cannot be in a situation where we are letting Arsenal win the league and we've helped them do it. That just cannot happen. If you are, I don't mean rude by saying if you're proper Spurs, but if you are a true Spurs fan in your heart, you do not want Spurs to beat Man City. And that freaking kills me to say that because I'm a Tottenham fan. I want us to win every game. But I can't be in a situation where Tottenham are going to potentially hand Arsenal the league. That just cannot happen in my lifetime. I don't want to be here for it.
Well, I tell you what, guys. All of you are talking about. I want to see the Jamie Donnellys, the Iago Santiagos, the Judson Sot Bells.
Yeah, come on up.
14th of May at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Last home game of the season when there's pretty much nothing to play for apart from stopping Arsenal in the league. I think it's the perfect opportunity, guys. I don't know about you.
Wheel them all out. Without the old park.
I'll tell you what, even better. Even better. Let's just get us four in there. Get Sim on there. We get. We're playing.
Left back. I'll make sure I give him a couple of goals. Don't worry about it.
Kevin De Bruyne going past on the wing. Happy days.
But look, I think that does bring an end to the panel show today, guys. But I want to thank all of you guys, Ricky, Lee, and Amir, for coming on today. Big up to everyone in the chat as well. I've really enjoyed the discussion today, and it's kind of. I'm not over the Arsenal defeat, but it's definitely helped me try and get over it a bit more. Amir, big up to you. Do you want to let the people know where they can find you, my friend?
Yeah, sure thing. I mean, I've just restarted my little podcast. We've gone for a name change, little rebrand. So yeah, check me out on the Olive Branch podcast over there. We're going to be doing things soon. Be fantastic. And yeah, catch me on here. Last few games of the season, hopefully be in the studio for a couple of watch-alongs and, hopefully a couple of victories. Come on, let's end the season on a high and, go into the summer feeling good. That'd be nice.
Are you in here for the Man City game?
I think I am.
Asking me 2 weeks time for the results.
Selection.
So yeah, not that one.
Big up, Amir, and I hope we're not extending those olive branches to Arsenal fans. That's all I got to say.
Never to that lot.
Ricky, everyone knows where you're from. Last word on Spurs, but you want to tell the people what's coming up on the channel?
Yeah, well, we've got a preview tonight for Chelsea. Do you know what? I'll be honest with you, Ben, this has been the perfect pick-me-up for it because I'll be honest, I'm not over the Arsenal game. And, listen, we're going to be doing a preview of the Chelsea game tonight over in Last Word on Spurs. And, of course, then we'll be back Thursday for instant analysis. But, look, I'll be honest with you. It's a massive, massive game for Spurs in their season. And like I say, Ben, I think I want to say it now. Hopefully we're going to be doing a lot more with you guys over the summer. It's been a real pleasure coming on here and collaborating with yourself and your brother. You do obviously have brilliant work on here. And look, again, we're looking forward to hopefully doing some more stuff with you in the summer and growing that out because, it's great what you do here, guys. Listen, you are a massive part of the Spurs community and why we need to keep that heartbeat going. So, Ben, keep us going, keep us alive. And keep making us feel that something is achievable this season because we need this therapy. We need it. And it's free.
Big up, Ricky. Thank you so much. Lee, you are obviously part of the Last Word on Spurs crew, but any final words from you? I think he's gone, mate.
Lee's doing this flag against Arsenal in the opening half hour from a corner. Don't want to do from a corner in the opening 30 minutes as a Spurs fan. Don't defend like that.
Well, anyway, that's us over and out, guys. Big up to each and every one of you out there. We'll be back for some more content later on today, but like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you Spurs.